Diburei Emuna Chelek Beis. We're holding by Daf Memtes. A person has to beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu a lot that he should know himself. A person should always check all his limbs to know every single limb, if the limb is rectified, and to talk to HaKadosh Baruch Hu a lot about them. For instance, you start with the eyes. You're loud. The eyes. How much care must be given not to look where you're not supposed to look? Not once and not twice the eyes are just running off without even noticing. And you chap a look here, you chap a look there, and you fantasize, you conjure different kind of theorem. You know, you're dealing with women. You can look, you cannot look, whatever. Look at the Rebbe's Toichacha, Lekutei Maran on the Maimon. Kachrinu le'ele v'shavkinu. You know, they painted over the eyes of the Yetzer Hara of licentiousness, of misconduct on that level, in tznius. And in other words, that in the time after Churban Beis Hamikdash, they killed the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. They said, look what happened. You know, Churban Beis Hamikdash, we have Tisha B'Av, and a couple of days. You know, it's like, what happened with it? So they killed the Yetzer Hara of Avodah Zarah. So they saw that there's a line of fire come out of Kodesh HaKodeshim. They killed it. He says, listen, while the going is good, let's make it a rout. Let's hit a grand slam, as you said before. Let's kill off the Yetzer Hara of Znus. And so they did that. And the world stopped moving. The hens wouldn't lay eggs. That's it. The world needs this. It needs to be done properly. You know, but it's a necessity. So they said, okay, so the world cannot exist without us. So what did they do? They said they painted over the eyes of the Yetzer Hara of Znus, and they let them go. So what does it mean? He says that was sort of like, even though there are, you know, people who are mentally ill, but normal people, they don't desire their own family members. This comes from that the myopia that they induced on the Yetzer Hara of Arayos. The person at least, his own family is safe from him, by and large. Today, there's such filth going on in the world that it's like it spritzes over everybody. It's over everybody. You know, it's. You have to decide once and for all. The eyes have to be guarded. They have to be sealed. They have to be locked with a padlock. Yes. They have to be padlocked with a deadbolt. They have to be guarded with under heavy security. That he should not go out of your rishus, lav muchlas. No ifs, ands, or buts. A total niet to the Yetzer Hara. The Yosef HaTzadik, the Torah testifies on him, Vayimahen, that he refused what his mistress said. So the trop, the sign, the music he's supposed to sing, that particularly shalsheles, Vayimahen, no and no and no and no and no and no and no. People think that in order to fight off a Yetzer Hara, you're supposed to be angry. You're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do that. You're supposed to say no consistently. No, and 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 that's it. No is no. You know what I used to say when I was a kid? I have to ask him, that was very cute. Anyhow, he was a toddler, a little bit more. He told about Dover, no, totally no. His refusal was absolute. It is forbidden. Finished. That's why the trap from Time HaMikra on Vayli and Shalshelis, that, you know, that you sing it long and more and more and more, means no and no and no and no and no. And he didn't want, and he didn't want, and he didn't want, and he didn't want. Is one not long, not wanting. This is the only advice against about Dover and his tricks. Don't get into negotiations with him. Maybe this yes, maybe this no. Nothing immediately. No. No is no is no. There's an unbelievable story that Rabbeinu taught us how far a person can fall because his no was not an absolute no. He always lived in yes and no. He wants and he doesn't want. Until he came to a point it was totally in the hands of the Baldova. He says, this story was already printed, he says over here, but it was mixed up with inaccuracies, and that's why we'll tell them the way that we told it. It says, we'll tell them the way he saw it. And that's the story. Once there was a Yid who was Yerushalayim, but he was very, very poor, and he had children. And once, we spoke about, a fortune teller, psychic, came to his town, and used to tell people according to the lines on their hands, what will be the success. So his wife asked him to go to this fortune teller. Maybe you'll find out what is the source of success and what will be Matzliach. In the beginning he didn't know because he was Shema, but she pestered him and she wouldn't let him go. She wouldn't, so he decided, should he go, shouldn't he go? So off he went. Rabbeinu said, ja gewollt and nicht gewollt, und ist gegangen. He wanted to go, and he didn't want to go, and he wanted to go, and he didn't want to go, and he went. He wanted, didn't want, and then he went. After that fortune teller, looked at the line of his hands, he says, the tzlach is only from stealing. If he's going to oisik in stealing, he will succeed, he will be a very successful thief. They make movies about, heists and bank heists and all kinds of very successful heists, successful bank robberies, and people love that. So he heard the answer, and he laughed at it, and he jeered this, what a Yidi Yushaman is going to, this asik in stealing. He went to his house and was angry, was upset with the wife for sending him there. Somebody gave him advice to be a thief. Well, time passed, hunger came around, this situation got worse and worse. So the wife told the husband, "What? There's no pikuach nefesh here. Our children might die from hunger. Just steal for today, for one day, so we'll have enough." So Rabbeinu says again, nicht gewollt, he wanted, he didn't want, ist gegangen, and he went. He went out of the house and he started, dealing with this profession of stealing. And wonder of wonders, the words of the Widerspit, the fortune teller, about his amazing success in stealing immediately became true. He just came to one store in order to break the door, to take what he needed. The door opened before him like in an unseen key. He went easily, took one gulden from the till, so he should have what to live for a day, and that's it, and he came out. As Mishlei says, you know, you won't deride a thief should he steal a mal enough to fulfill his nefesh because he's hungry. How can you put down somebody who steals because he's hungry? Okay, after some time, he went to a different store, and again he took just a little bit kedei chiyusay, and the store owners were amazed. They used to come, and the stores were open, and from the till it's just one. Who is this idiotic thief? And it became very famous, and all the thieves were also wondering who is so successful, to steal from all those stores they cannot get into. Going to Tiffany's, go inside, take $1, take $10, whatever it is. That's what you do for a day. He was very successful. So his fellow thieves, if he's so successful, if the new shuttev has such a big success, maybe he can become a partner, for this, some serious heist, something really, really expensive. So what is it? That's the clothing of the king. Is gold and pearls and gems, of course. It's worth so much money that. So they came with their new friend. The thieves came with his new friend, and they said, let's pull this heist. They wanted to do it for years and years and years. We saw this expensive clothing of the king. He says, now you'll have enough money for all your days. You'll never have to go steal every single night. At your gewollt, as nicht gewollt, you wanted, you didn't want. And then he went. And miraculously he went into the room of the king and he took the clothing out. And they saw that he has this garment. Started arguing, maybe they deserve a bigger part of it because they told him about it. The thief says the bigger part should be his. He's the one who stole it. And they didn't know what to do. Who's right? So they needed a big chacham that will give them advice, compromise. So they decided they asked the king himself in a roundabout way. So you should understand what we're talking about. Mimela, you'll give him, because the king was a big chacham, he'll give him. So before they even know what the story was, the question was given to the king, and the king gave the answer. They should split it half and half. Once they found out that the garment of the king was stolen, the king remembered that he was asked by somebody about how do you divide the spoils, and he passed it. Immediately he ordered, he says the thief would come, and if the thief would come to him, he won't be punished, but he'll get schar, he wanted to know such a person that not only could come to his inner sanctum and steal his most precious garment, but has such a chutzpah, such bravery to come again to the mouth of the lion as the king is up about it. So our thief started thinking, should we, shouldn't we? It says a yogavolt, nish gavolt, go, not go. He went. So after the king had heard him, he was Michael, like he promised. But the minister says, it's true that you are our king, you're Michael, but we are not Michael. because a king that moichel, that forgoes his covet is not moichel. It's not his personal property. And they gave him the capital punishment. They judged him to death. Was executed. At the end, he says, when they took this Jewish thief to be hung, he saw the fortune teller that is carrying on his shoulder a sack filled with torn shoes. So the Jew called him. He says, look where they are leading me. You gave me this advice to be a thief. You told me that's my only luck. So the fortune teller looked at him and jeered at him and laughed at him. He says, take a look at the sack on my shoulders filled with torn shoes. He says, so many shoes I had to tear from walking and walking and walking until I was able to capture you in my net. He says, obviously, the Bible says this fortune teller was the Baal Davar himself that was waiting to capture him and between him until he grabbed him and he enticed him, and here he brought him to the gallows, mamish to the gallows. That's the story of every year. We'll talk about this fortune teller in the heart of every Jew.